All right, thrilled now to be joined by Peter Schweizer, president of the Government Accountability Institute and author of Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans, his most recent book. Peter, thanks so much for joining me on the U.S. Report. Now, you've written a great piece this week on Breitbart.com detailing the success of DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and how it has even exposed money laundering operations around the world. Peter, what have you made of DOGE's successes, hits, and maybe any misses in the first month or so of President Trump's second term?
Well, I think if you measure it by the simple fact that they've been doing this for, roughly 30 days, it's been an enormous success. I think the one thing that I would quibble with is that much of the reporting, much of the emphasis by DOGE is on that they're getting rid of waste and abuse, which is absolutely true. But there's intentionality behind a lot of this money that's being spent. It's not just frivolous waste. Oftentimes, the money that is being spent is being done for a political purpose. It is either to serve as a slush fund, or I would argue to sort of politically launder money to allies and supporters. And this is particularly true when it comes to government agencies like the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. They often deal with things like natural crises, like the earthquake in Haiti. And these contracts are rife with corruption because they are usually no-bid contracts because it's a crisis. And oftentimes the beneficiaries are politically connected. They're people that are either donors to the president that has put them, that they have helped put into office, or it is people that are former aides or people that have endorsed their campaigns. So it's a slush fund. This is not just sort of a ridiculous, irresponsible waste.
Well, yeah, and Peter, we hear stories about, billions of dollars going in aid to various countries like Haiti, but very little of that actually getting through and winding up on the ground. So clearly, that money is going somewhere, but also some of this USAID money, it seems to have been used to do things, and they use sort of euphemisms like strengthen democracy and things like that, but which is really about funding opposition groups and trying to create political conditions that are favorable to not necessarily the U.S., but to a certain outlook that's very prominent within Washington around a very certain type of kind of restrictive liberalism.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there was a story that there was a nonprofit organization that dealt with LGBTQ issues that was laying off staff because their USAID contract was cut. The group was based in London. As far as I know, London does not mean developmental aid. So it shows how far this has gone from its original mission. And it also shows the sort of political nature of a lot of this. I think a lot of Americans don't mind if you're trying to help people in poverty-stricken areas of the world develop and grow economically. But USAID has morphed far from that. It's also associated with a lot of political activities. The Haitian earthquake, for example. Hillary Clinton, as the Secretary of State, was in charge of reconstruction after that horrific event. A lot of that money ended up going to contractors who had Clinton connections. There were, in fact, emails that were sent by State Department aides to Hillary Clinton that said this contractor is an FOB, friend of Bill, as in her husband. And some studies show that more than 60% of the aid dollars that were supposed to flow to Haiti actually never made it out of the Washington, D.C. area. They went to these developmental, consultancies that are based in the Washington Beltway. And of course, these consultancies are often run by political allies, former political aides, et cetera. So when they run around screaming and saying that this is going to lead poor people in the developing world to suffer, that is simply not true. What's going to happen is a lot of consultancies in Washington, D.C. are going to have to find a different line of business.